Hi, I'm Kevin Bradberry. Thanks for joining us on TKTrainingNetwork.com. Welcome to the first segment of our 10-segment training series dedicated to the basic fundamentals of successful selling, the road to the sale. This segment is called Introduction to the Selling Process. There's nothing more critical to your overall career in sales than to understand, embrace, and to trust in the selling process. The selling process is the basics and is fundamental to your success in automotive sales. Each step has a deliberate purpose designed to help you move your prospect forward through the process towards the closing of the sale. Over the past decade, our trainers have held over 3,500 week-long recruiting and training classes for automotive dealerships representing all makes and models throughout the country. We've recruited, trained, and graduated over 35,000 automotive sales professionals nationwide. Before graduating, each of our students is given an assignment to visit a dealership in their area to conduct a mystery shop. The reason for the mystery shop is so they can see things one last time through the eyes of the customer in order to gain a greater understanding and appreciation for what the customer goes through during the buying process. The mystery shoppers were asked to rate their experience and to complete a detailed report. We've compiled the information found on these reports to provide you with real-world view of exactly what customers are experiencing during their shopping and buying process. While a few of our mystery shoppers' experiences were positive, 75% of the 35,000 mystery shoppers reported a less than pleasurable experience. Only 25% of the salespeople made a positive first impression. Only 33% did an adequate needs analysis and took the time to build rapport. Only 13% introduced our shoppers to a sales manager early in the process, and only 15% introduced them to a manager at all. Only 20% gave a meaningful presentation. Only 40% offered or took our shoppers on a demo drive. Only 30% even asked our shoppers for their business. Only 5% introduced our shoppers to the service department, and believe it or not, only 10% of the salespeople even made a non-buyer follow-up call to our shoppers after they left the store. The final question on the mystery shop report was, would you do business with the salesperson if the price was agreeable? Overwhelmingly, 60% of the mystery shoppers' answers to this question was no way. Even though some who had a less than desirable experience said they would still buy the car if the price was agreeable, the overwhelming majority said they would rather buy elsewhere. That's a shame. The stark reality is 3 out of 4 people have a bad shopping experience when they go out to buy a car. Now I want you to ask yourself, is that good news or is that bad news? Well, it's both. It's bad news for the customer because it's discouraging to them to have to go through this unpleasant process. It's bad news for the salespeople who are taking those shortcuts on the basics and costing themselves thousands of dollars in commissionable opportunities, as well as very valuable long-term customer relationships. It's also bad news for the dealership when they spent thousands of dollars getting customers through the door just for the opportunity to earn their business, only to have them leave the store having had a bad experience and then sharing their negative experience with everyone who will listen. It's good news, however, for you. Why? Because by you learning, embracing, trusting in, and utilizing each of the steps in the sales process on this platform, you'll have an extreme advantage over 80% of the salespeople you're competing with for that customer. Here's a fact. 80% of the customers who visit a dealership to shop for a vehicle buy one within 72 hours of their first visit. Yet the national closing ratio on first-time prospects is 10%. How do we explain the 70% who didn't buy? What could we have done differently to capture a higher percentage of those customers? This should be obvious when you look at the results from our mystery shop data. If salespeople would just slow down, follow the steps to the sale, take the time to make a positive first impression and build rapport while investigating their prospect's needs, then why would their prospect want to go somewhere else and go through the whole process again? The answer is they wouldn't. The major reason they didn't do business is because the salesperson gave them a reason not to. Being successful in sales is not rocket science. It's a simple step-by-step process. The key is to keep it simple and not to overcomplicate it. Whether you have just started your career in automotive sales or you've been selling for years, the road to the sale is still the same. It's sticking to the basics, following the process, having a positive attitude, and treating people how you'd like to be treated. Selling is one of the highest paid professions there is. You can earn ordinary income by being average, or you can earn extraordinary income by being above average. It's up to you. The only difference between ordinary and extraordinary is a little extra. The buying and selling process. Selling is a process by which products or services are moved from the people who produce them to the people who benefit from their use. It's important to recognize that just as we have a selling process, our prospects have a buying process. Gaining a better understanding into your prospect's buying process will enable you to have a greater comprehension of the selling process and will make clear to you what you need to accomplish in order to fulfill their expectations. Let's talk a little about the buying process. I want you to take a moment and think about the process you must go through before purchasing an expensive item. Would you have certain expectations that would have to be met before you'd agree to spend your hard-earned money? Would you need to be comfortable with your salesperson as well as the place you're doing business? Would you need to be convinced that the product or service you were purchasing was the best choice for you and presented the most value for your money? Of course you would. You'd have to be convinced of all these things before you'd agree to sign on the bottom line. Then why would it be any different for your prospective customer? Purchasing a high-ticket item such as an automobile is a major decision for most people, second only to buying a home. There are 3 primary things your prospect must be sold on before they'll consider agreeing to purchase your product. The first and most important thing that you need to sell is yourself. You play a vital role in the selling process. Here's a fact. 3 out of 4 customers said they bought their car because they liked, trusted, and felt confident with their salesperson. Your prospect's first impression of you can literally make or break a deal within the first few minutes. If you make a bad first impression, it'll be hard to recover from and it'll likely cost you the sale. If you make a great first impression, you set a positive tone that will carry throughout the process. A great first impression will ensure that your prospect likes you. If they like you, they'll begin to trust you. And if they trust you, they'll be more likely to listen to you. And if they like, trust, and listen to you, although it won't always guarantee that you're going to make a sale, it does give you a much greater opportunity to do a meaningful product presentation and demonstration, which will have a dramatic and positive impact on your closing ratio. The second thing you need to sell is your product. Here's a fact. 50% of customers said that once they received a great product presentation and demonstration, they bought. Each one of your customers has a unique set of circumstances and individual thoughts on their wants, needs, and desires. These are your prospects' hot buttons, helping your prospects sort through this information, clarifying what's important to them, and knowing what hot buttons to push during your product presentation and demonstration will help you convince them that your product is the best possible choice for them. The third thing you need to sell is your dealership. Your prospect needs to be convinced that not only are they doing business with a professional salesperson, they also need to be assured that they're doing business with a reputable establishment that'll be there for them long after the sale is made. Therefore, it's important for you to take the time to highlight the unique selling points of your dealership and to show your prospect why your dealership's loyal customers feel comfortable doing business with you time after time. Now, did you happen to notice that price was not mentioned as one of your prospect's primary buying concerns? That's because if your customer isn't sold on you, your product, and your dealership, they won't be able to justify the price no matter how low it is. Your prospect is not necessarily looking to get the lowest price. What they're looking for is the most value. The majority of sales are not lost over price during negotiations. They're lost by salespeople taking shortcuts or skipping steps during the value-building stages of the sale. Shortcuts will almost always guarantee that the salesperson will meet resistance or rejection later on in the selling process during the closing stage. The more time you spend building value in your product, the less time you spend negotiating price. This is where following the sales process can give you a major advantage. It helps you to keep your prospect focused on the value of owning your product as opposed to the price. Now that you have a better understanding of the buying process your prospect goes through when shopping for a car, let's take a look at the selling process and what you need to focus on to accomplish your goal of meeting their expectations and making the sale. There's nothing more critical to your overall career in sales than to understand, embrace, and trust in the selling process. It's the basics of success in sales. Each fundamental step has a deliberate purpose designed to help you move your prospect forward through the process towards closing the sale. The main goal of the selling process is to have your prospect become confident with you while you build rapport, find common ground, investigate their needs, and build value in the benefits of owning your product. Your willingness to follow the basics will directly determine the level of success you'll ultimately reach. Usually where most salespeople get themselves in trouble is when they start prejudging whether a prospect is a buyer or not. They start to deviate from the basics and begin to pick and choose the steps they believe are important and leave out the rest. This will almost always lead to resistance or rejection during the closing stage of the process. Now let's talk about what happens when you meet a prospect at your dealership for the first time. It's natural that they may be a little bit apprehensive. They know nothing about you, nor do they have any reason to like or trust you at this point. Perhaps they had a bad past buying experience or have some preconceived notion of meeting an unprofessional salesperson. Or what's most often the case, they may just be a little fearful about making a mistake. This uneasiness is often evident in their body language, as they may appear defensive or standoffish. You may even sense that they have an invisible wall up. The selling process can help you break down that wall and build it into a bridge. By making a great first impression, you'll begin to remove any reservations your prospect may have. As you greet them in a friendly and professional manner, they'll begin to like and trust you. As you begin to control the process, you'll see their body language change as they begin to loosen up and feel more comfortable. Once this starts to happen, you'll find that they're much more receptive to allowing you to guide them through the process. You'll have much more control and be much more effective keeping the customer on the road to the sale. Now let's talk about our sales process. We call it the road to the sale. The road to the sale has 3 stages. Each stage is broken into 3 steps for a total of 9 steps. The first stage is the welcome. The steps of the welcome are first impression, greeting, and needs analysis with manager flyby. The learning objectives of the welcome stage will teach you the following: how to put your prospect at ease by making a great first impression, how to properly welcome your prospect to your dealership with a warm and friendly greeting, how to use word tracks that will help you overcome any initial resistance at the greeting, how to establish and maintain non-confrontational control in order to help move your prospect forward through the process, how to build rapport and find common ground with your prospect while you investigate their needs, identify their primary buying motives, and discover their hot buttons, what the benefits are of introducing your sales manager to your prospect early in the process, and how to evaluate the trade in a professional and non-confrontational way. The second stage is the presentation. The steps of the presentation are vehicle selection, product presentation, and demonstration drive. The learning objectives of the presentation stage will teach you the following: how to work with your prospect to select a vehicle that meets their expectations, how to use your evidence manual to add value to you, your dealership, and your product, the necessary information you must have when you visit the sales desk to get your sales manager's input on the vehicle selection, how to do a meaningful product presentation and walk around that's tailored to your prospect's needs and that highlights the features, benefits, and the feeling they'll get by having those features, as well as their acceptance in the desire to own them. How to do an effective demo drive that utilizes all 5 senses and helps your prospect to develop mental ownership. How to do a trial close that confirms to your prospect that they found the perfect vehicle. And how to ask for the sale and to overcome any potential buying objections. The third and final stage is the close. The steps of the close are negotiations, perfect delivery, and customer retention and development. The learning objectives of the closing stage will teach you the following: the 3 fundamentals of closing, how to present your prospect with an initial proposal from management, how to write up and present a customer offer, how to complete the perfect delivery, and finally, how to effectively follow up with your customer to ensure repeat and referral business. Here are 3 things that you must have in order to be effective using the sales process. They're confidence, consistency, and control. First, confidence. You must have confidence in yourself in order for your customer to have confidence in you. Your prospect must have the confidence that you're the best person to help them achieve their goals, and you must be confident that you're that person. Having an organized approach to selling will help you accomplish both. Keep in mind that your prospect will typically visit 3 or 4 dealerships before they make their final decision. Most of the time, your competition isn't another product, service, or dealership. It's that salesperson at the other dealership. Be sure they're not better trained, more attentive, more enthusiastic, more knowledgeable about their product, or better at following the sales process than you. Competency breeds confidence, and confidence closes sales. The second one is consistency. Sales can either be easy work with low pay or hard work with high pay. Seldom is it easy work with high pay. There are no shortcuts in the selling process. Each step in the process has a deliberate purpose and builds upon the success of the previous step. It's important that you accomplish each step completely and in the right order every time. Doing this will help you stay on course and minimize errors that can cost you the sale. Next is control. You can't close what you can't control. If you don't control the process, your prospect will control you. Your goal is to move your customer through each step in the process. Establishing non-confrontational control early and maintaining it throughout the selling process will help you keep your customer on the road to the sale. If you have these three things, then the other two things will come automatically. They're customer satisfaction and repeat and referral business. Remember, if you don't satisfy your customers, someone else will. And isn't customer satisfaction simply your customer's perception of the value they receive throughout the shopping and buying process? If your customer is comfortable doing business with you and your dealership, and they feel that they've received the best value for their money, of course they'll have a higher opinion of their buying experience and therefore be more satisfied. Happier customers will help you build your business by developing a loyal customer base that'll also be rich in referral business.